So you want to make an impact. You're thinking about starting a business, sharing your voice. How do women do it that handle motherhood, family, and still chase after those dreams? Well, listen each week as we dive into the stories of women who know. This is Call Me CEO. Hello, and welcome back to Call Me CEO. This is your host, Camille Walker, and here we celebrate and have conversations with mothers building businesses, leading families, and creating success on their terms. I'm your host, Camille. I've already said that. Today, we're talking about entrepreneurship, motherhood, branding, and building a business that people genuinely love. Our guest is Megan, the Princess Gray, and she is the co-founder, actually the original founder, but she also runs it with her husband. So as the founder, as the CEO, she's running the show. But what's really neat is we have her husband who is also in operations. We'll find out exactly what his role is in the storyline here, but he is known as the Wizard, and he's going to be sharing with us his little bits, how they do their work as a team. Anytime I can get a couple on the show that's running a business together, I'm like, okay, let's talk about this, especially where the woman is running the business and she's the one in charge. And then we have the husband that's running operations or whatever that looks like. I think it's very fascinating because that's not always typically the norm. And I love exploring what that looks like. So with her husband, Megan has helped grow Fable into a thriving company, generating millions in annual revenue, earning a spot on the Inc. 5,000 list 2 years in a row, and cultivating a loyal community that travels from across the country to attend Fable Fest. As a mother of three, a female founder, it is traditionally male-dominated industry, especially with what she's doing. Megan is passionate and proving that women don't have to choose between building a successful business and building a beautiful family life. So today we're going to be talking about entrepreneurial journey, the power of storytelling and branding, leadership, motherhood, team building, and what it really takes to grow and scale a business and keeping all of your priorities in order. This is like the cream of the crop, the exact kind of conversations I love to have here. So thank you, Megan the Princess, and Colin.
Yeah.
The Wizard. Thank you
The
for
Wizard.
being on the
He's
show.
the Wizard.
Yeah. Okay. So I have to just put out a disclaimer out there. Originally, Colin the Wizard was not going to be a part of the conversation, but as a supportive husband, he agreed. So I tagged him in here really quick for part of the show. So traditionally we talk about the origins of the business. So let's just talk about that really briefly. We'll have a chat with the Wizard here with us, and then the Princess will take her royal stand and we'll go from there. So tell us a little bit, Megan, about how the business started, what inspired you to jump into a male dominant product company.
Yeah.
And what is it exactly? So people know.
So the story goes, is that my husband was growing a beard. I've always really loved facial hair. And one day we were actually walking through a mall and we stumbled upon a store that sold products kind of dedicated towards growing a beard. And I was like, this is perfect. I've always wanted you to grow a beard. I think you should try some of these products.
Oh, so he didn't have one yet.
He did not have one at this time. No.
Oh, it would just inspired you. They're like, this is it.
Okay. Yeah. So he got very into it kind of almost as a hobby. And he, when his beard would start to grow out, and a lot of men struggle with this, their beards kind of come in patchy, and it's based on age and testosterone levels and all sorts of different things. But, and it starts, it gets itchy and it's uncomfortable and it grows at different paces. And so obviously we see these pictures of these men with these perfect full beards, and everyone wants to just go from zero to that. And it's not always that journey. So products really help with that. So he was very interested in purchasing products to make his beard growth journey more enjoyable. And as he was buying them in, he was even recording YouTube videos for them. I'm doing some review videos. And as he was buying them in, I was like, these don't smell good. These smell really bad. And I don't really love that. Why would men want to put this on their faces? And so after a lot of discussion of just exactly what I envisioned it to smell like, he said, I think I can manufacture these myself. And so we kind of started from there to look at formulations and exactly what we would, if we were to considering doing this, what would this look like? And my husband has always had a big love of storytelling. And as we kind of unfolded what we wanted, side, we knew that we wanted hand-drawn art. That was really something that was very important to us. We wanted to hire an artist, and we wanted kind of this never-ending story with the characters at the forefront. So opposed to a lot of products, which it might be like your bourbon sandalwood or whatever the scent profile will be. It's just labeled as that. We chose to represent the characters themselves as the scent profile. So if you have the
Mm.
distiller, that's our bourbon vanilla, and that will always be the distiller, and it's a character. And if you have the hero, you have your tobacco scent, and that's again a clone. That's always going to be the hero. And so we can kind of tell the story within the character base. So we named it Fable. Every beard has a story, and the adventure began as he started the original formulations. We launched with 4 products. We launched with beard oil and beard balm in 3 different scents and 1 unscented. We found an artist who was willing to kind of work this journey with us and I can draw a stick figure if you need assistance with that. But he was able to turn kind of our vision. And I always say kind of like took what was in his brain and put it on paper.
Yeah.
And then we were able to launch with these 4 original characters into the marketplace. And then from there, we have done hundreds. So
Wow, that's so cool. I love that I have noticed from your packaging that it's very unique because usually with
yeah,
even men's products, you don't see anything other than words. Generally, I can't think
hopefully.
of anything that has like drawn caricatures or different things
Yeah.
like that. And how you have like a summer profile for
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
different line, and that's so cool. And
Yeah.
it's kind of interesting because I think of my husband has a beard. And I think about my brothers who look at his beard and they're like, oh, yours is so full, where my
Mhm.
brother's, it grows in more
Yeah.
patchy. They're going to hate
Mhm.
me for saying that. I don't think that they'll see this. But the idea that you can change that is
Mhm.
really cool.
Well,
I
it's
didn't
kind
even know
of,
that.
yeah, it's kind of like you think about like women's hair products
Sure.
and there's women's hair types, right? Like my hair is super curly, it's very thick, it's very full. I have to straighten it if I want it straight. Typically, it's like poof. And men's beards are no different. They come in all different shapes, sizes, fullness,
Mhm.
thickness, types of hair consistency.
Yeah.
It's not a one size fits all, and they grow at different paces. And sometimes patience is not always a men's best quality. Some men have it, but a lot of men are not the most patient. And
And not
so
educated on it, I would
yeah,
imagine, because it's just
and
not
it's
talked about.
it's not. Women are really very much more qualified to they're just trained to take care of themselves in a different way where it's
Hmm.
considered almost a natural rite of passage to try perfumes and do different things like that. Whereas men are very much more, it's very hit or miss with those who actually
You
take the
shower,
time.
you wear deodorant, you go. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
I've
Mhm.
always thought a beard is like contour for a man's face because
Mhm.
it
Yeah.
kind of chisels and cuts the face.
Absolutely.
Once my husband went beard, I'm like, okay, this is it. Like
You can never
you've
go.
got to go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's the neatest thing. I think it's such a unique opportunity that men get to grow facial hair like that, and
Yeah.
it just makes them look more distinguished as they age. I just think it's really miraculous. I'm like, we don't, women can't do it, and typically they can't do that. So it's like such a fun thing to honor men, and I love it. So it's always been I've been a huge beard fan since the very beginning.
Yeah. My oldest, he does complain. He's like, why do women get to experiment with this and that? And how come how we don't color, we don't do this? And he doesn't have facial hair yet. He just
Yeah,
turned 18. So I'm like, well, you'll get some time to
yeah.
experiment with your look. It just comes at a different time in a different way.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's actually funny that you say that because our kids are very involved in the company as well. And obviously they are 3 boys, but our oldest is 12, so he doesn't have any facial hair yet either. But they do use the cologne and the deodorant because
Hmm.
they are such big fans of the storytelling aspect of it. And they have
That's
such a
so
great
cute.
time. Yeah, they have such a great time
So
with
it's safe for kids.
absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, that's really
Yeah.
cool.
And the
That's
oil,
something like fragrance. That's a big thing I've seen on my ads lately is talking about fragrance and the effect it has on boys' hormones specifically. I mean, men and
Yeah,
boys
I
and girls.
I
So is
think
that
it's
something? Yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, when it comes to formulation and when it comes to fragrances, fragrance is a widely used term.
Hmm.
All of our fragrances are phthalate free and sulfate free for our beard washes and things like that. So when we develop our fragrances, we want to make sure that they're always skin safe and
Yeah.
able to use.
yeah, and like you said, it's a lot of these things they're very broad. And so to narrow it down to what you can use and what you can't use, I mean, that comes from, he's our master formulator over here. So I typically, that's not as much my department, but I do have the nose where I smell things. I'm like, this is approved or this isn't approved. But
Yeah.
that was really big and important for us, is the quality of the ingredients and what we were using. Because it's you want to do your best to be as healthy as possible while you're taking care of yourself. And the deodorant was super important to me because we had I really always wanted to try natural deodorant, and I would buy natural deodorants, and we felt that they just really weren't effective. And I really wanted to use them, but I was like, sometimes I feel like I'd be better off just not using anything than using a natural deodorant, because it just was terrible. And so he actually, again, was like, I think we can do this. And so when we launched Fable Beauty, which came into the very end of 2023, so we're coming on 2.5 years now, we launched with a deodorant at the same time, and I've got to say, it's been the best deodorant we have ever. So we have both on the Fable Beard side and on the Fable Beauty side.
Okay, that's so cool. Okay, I'm already like, I need to try everything
Yeah,
because this is
no.
touching into so many points that I'm concerned about as a person and as a mother, and
Yeah.
with boy children especially, where I'm like, okay, you need to be wearing the deodorant. So knowing that it's safe for the kids too, that's really cool. So
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about your roles while I have you here together, and how this is such a unique and how do we say this? Like marriage in itself is already a tricky road to navigate, with figuring out roles, and everyone does it differently. And some may be more egalitarian while others are more traditional. And then if you put a mix of a business into it, that complicates or just makes things a little trickier. So
Yeah.
let's talk about how you're able to navigate that. Like, what are the roles that you play, and how do you make it all come together so it's cohesive? And of course, we all know, with me saying this, it's hard. So of course
Yeah.
it doesn't work perfectly, but for you guys, how does it work?
Well, I think for me, the more I listen to her, the easier it is.
Hmm. That's a smart man
Well,
right
yeah.
there. Okay.
So we started so small. We
Uh-huh.
started with like a hope and a prayer and no money. I always tell people, like, we quite literally had nothing. We like scrounging up our pennies to start the company.
What year
And
was this? Like, take us into a
2018. It was
okay,
20. Yeah.
2018.
So I was in real estate, and that was funding our home, but we had 2 young children. At the time,
Mm.
my oldest at that point in time was like 4 years old, and we had a 1-year-old. And so
she's very much a planner and loves to think things out. And I'm very much a very reactive, like quick action moving person. So we came up with the idea, and I quit my job 2 days later.
yeah.
And I was
What?
like, we're doing
This
this.
is what we're
So,
doing.
So you're a
Um,
creative. Like, this awakened you
yeah.
in a way that you're like, oh my gosh, this actually is something I want to pour everything into.
he is very, very much so. And I will say, um, we've always enjoyed being together, which is great, because we've kind of just, when I was in real estate where we lived in Virginia, it was very rural. And so to get to a lot of places, you had to drive a while. And so a lot of times, like, even when he wasn't working, he was a nurse prior to this. And even when he wasn't
Mm.
working, he would just drive me around for my showings and just kind of be there with me. And so we collectively worked a lot in a lot of different capacities prior to launching this brand. But in the brand, he, as you said, is the creative. So he is definitely our master marketer as far as the vision in which he wants to help create a
the
story.
storyline of the character. And we're obviously we sell products, but we're very much character driven and storytelling first as a brand. So
So
it's
smart.
like I have to sit here and my job is, I'll think, well, for Halloween this year, do we want to do a theme around like an asylum? And then if we have an asylum, are there going to be surgeons and like nurses, or like scary things that go along with the character
I love
development?
it.
And then like on beauty side, which character is going to be married to another character, so we can kind of tie them in together, and
Oh,
the
wait,
brand
what?
stuff.
So you have it so that they're interacting with each other in the different
Yeah.
brands?
So we
Oh my
also
gosh.
have husband and wives that work on our team as well. So we have the wizard fragrance and the princess fragrance. So in the storyline, we're married there too. But we also have the Valkyrie and the Crusader, and
They're real people
yeah.
that work for us, and it's a husband and wife, and so they are characters. Every employee gets to be a character within the organization, and so they quite literally work hand in hand. And so we do. I mean, you don't have to know the backstory. You don't have to follow along with the storylines to love the products and enjoy the products. But if you are nerds like us and you love to like really engage with those things, it's a lot of fun to be able to tell those stories.
So smart. So it sounds like you have the risk taking ability and also the planning ability where you both can shine, because entrepreneurship is a risk. Like that's
Yeah.
you're going into it not necessarily knowing the plan. So it's 2018. You're like, we're in. Let's do this.
Yeah,
Grow a beard.
absolutely. So, when we launched this brand, like I said, we launched with nothing. We didn't, and a lot of people, and I say this not as a discouragement, I say this because I think some people go in thinking that like family and friends are going to financially support them, whether it's buying from their company and you have to be prepared that nobody will assist you in anything, right? So we didn't have any support, financial support.
More often than not in business and starting stuff like that too, you'll have your friends and family be like, "Are you sure you want to do that? They don't want to have like a backup plan or
And again, I say that not as we adore our family, but it was kind of we knew we had to do this completely without assistance from anyone. That was the risk, like you said, we took. Both of us we're pretty good with risk tolerance. So we're likely to jump into something and kind of see the repercussions and not think about all the things that can go wrong ahead of time. He's far more than me, but we are both aligned with that. And so I think when we started this brand, we knew that it was going to take a tremendous amount of research and work and continued growth, but that we believed enough in ourselves that we could take the risk and go ahead and do it.
Yeah, I remember even early on when we started seeing a little bit of growth, we only did like $7,000 in sales the first entire year.
Yeah, it was
but
a lot, but you're coming from nothing.
Yeah.
No one knew who we were and no one knew our story and no one knew anything about us. And so for us, that still felt like a great accomplishment that you got people to believe in your products that don't know anything about you. So
we started seeing some initial growth numbers going in the right direction with repeat buyers and just people really liking the product and reviews and all that. And we started thinking, and I was like, I just really think we just have like this traffic problem like that. So why we're not growing? Where are we going to get this from? And at that time, everything was organic.
This would have been 2019.
Yeah. And so I started kind of looking around and I'm like, well, I think we need to do Facebook ads. And we started looking at, hiring agencies and things like that to do that for us. And the princess was like, no, you're going to do that yourself. And I was like, all right, I guess I'm going to teach myself Facebook ads. So we did that and, few $1 million in ad spend later, it's worked out okay, I guess. But
we have, I think at that point in time, I feel like we always have to have a good baseline of what something takes before you can hire the right talent to replace that position. So for me, I know what he's capable of. And and I say this with all accolades to him, I've never met anyone who can be good at so many things. It's almost nauseating. I almost get really angry sometimes when I'm like, when I work really hard at something and it takes him like 2 minutes to do exactly what spent hours on, but he can be good at whatever he wants to be good at. And so I know that he can just adapt to learning Facebook ads and he'll sit down and he'll put his headphones on and he will learn everything there is to know.
Really it goes, how many times does she have to tell me that an idea is going to be good and that I can do it before I'm finally just like, all right.
He'll listen. Okay. Yeah, but you all of that, which for a lot of people, it would be beyond their scope to be able to do. Even like installing pixels on the website is a huge thing to like transport data. Some people have to hire someone to do that for them. And it took him about 5 minutes to do. Wow. And not everyone, I wouldn't say he's like a web developer, but he can know enough to figure it out. And so that's one of the skills he has, is that I think he can learn things. And so from that, we were able to scale enough to where eventually, obviously, we brought on people. But we knew a baseline of what was required for that job. And it also helped us because, people, especially in the ad space, they have no problem spending your money. And so we are much more cautious with how we spend our money than someone else. money.
Yeah.
So that was a good advantage, because even now when we look at it, we're, I tell people we waste money all the time in a business, but when you look at what we were able to do with how little we had, it's remarkable how you can stretch a dollar.
Mm.
And even now in the growth we are in, what we continue to do, and we're still very big risk takers, and we kind of always put the cart before the horse. But in that, we also look at, like, it's quite literally crazy to think what we've been able to do with just the two of us. So
Yeah. I mean, that's truly bootstrapping where you're like, okay, we're going to learn this and let's get in there
yeah.
and dig it out. Yeah.
It's not just one aspect too. It was marketing, it was the development, it was the manufacturing of the products. Like, we still manufacture everything in house. We still do in-house
We obviously
fulfillment
have
with the
people
team.
that now within them,
But it wasn't just like, oh, we're going to get somebody to make this product for us and then we're going to go try and sell it. Like, we were manufacturing the products from the beginning. We were shipping out all the stuff. So when people would come in from, oh, we're a 3PL, we think we could help you. And we're like, nah, we already got it. Like, we're good. So it helped us retain a lot of margin.
Mm.
That helped a lot in the growth process that other people might not necessarily have, because they're, hiring out those services. But it was a big struggle. Well, it's always a big struggle, but it was a really big struggle in the beginning.
So
yeah,
were you
consumer goods
formulating it in your home and then you
Mhm.
got a
yeah.
facility, or what did that look like?
Yeah, so we in 2018 when we started, we dedicated a room. It was like a separate room above our garage that was completely finished for like residential living, but we dedicated that, and that was like our lab space at the time. So
Cool.
we manufactured out of that room, and we brought in like little pots and pans, and like a little portable stove you take camping, and we
Mm-hmm.
set that all
Little
up in
burner.
this
Yeah.
room. Probably a huge fire hazard, but and we did that inside the room, and that's where we made all of our products at that point in time. And then
Wow.
we started to kind of just see little bits of traction in growth, and we decided that we needed to go to an area that had a little bit more. So where we lived was very rural. And so we decided that we needed to move to probably a little bit bigger of a city. And so we moved just right outside Nashville. And at that point in time, I used my real estate background to find us a home, and we rented it sight unseen. And then we, again, back with the risk taking ability, we rented it
Yeah.
sight unseen. We rolled on with a truckload of stuff, had never seen this house before, rolled onto it, and there was a detached garage. And then in the neighborhood we live in, it's very uncommon to find like a true detached garage. One of the only houses I've ever, still to this day, have ever seen with it. And we converted that into our lab space. And so then we
Oh.
had this like separate space at that point in
How
time.
many years in are we in at this point that you
About
have?
a year and a half at
A
this
year and a
moment.
half. That's really
Yeah.
quick. I mean,
It was,
yeah.
and honestly, I could not be more grateful because this was around November of 2019, and then fast forward a few months, and the whole world shut down with COVID. And Tennessee was a great state to be in during that time, because it was kind of just business as usual.
Hmm.
We didn't have very many requirements that we had to deal with in proximity
That's
to like
nice.
other states like
Yeah.
Virginia.
Or
There was a lot
California.
more rules and regulations that
Yeah.
were, required to still do the same job. And so we were very fortunate at that time where we were. But after a little bit of growth, my husband he's really likes, when he finds something he likes, like that was it. And he was actually really apprehensive to move to a separate facility. But I was like, hey, we can't.
That was another thing. It was like 6 months. She's like, we need to be in somewhere that's not here. And I'm like, no, that's not, that's stupid. And then like after, I'm like, why was I ever not doing this before?
So again, the realtor hat came back on, and I found us a location that we could do manufacturing out of. And that was in 2020. And then we've just kind of steadily grown. We added another unit at that space, and then
Another unit.
and then in 2025, January 2025, we relocated our entire facility we're in about 10,000 square feet now. So
Wow. And is that near Nashville as well?
yeah, we're just
Okay.
right outside in Franklin.
Oh, that's awesome. So I have a question that's been in the back of my mind as I'm listening to this story and the way that you've come together, way that you built the business. How was it determined that you would be the CEO where it's a male dominant field and
Yeah.
that you decided to organize it that way? How did that come about?
Well, very early on, since the dawn of our relationship, I kind of have just always been in charge.
Okay.
And so it's just always listened to a lot of my guidance. And I've just kind of been more of a very big picture thinker in that way.
Mhm.
And so I kind of look at how the puzzle pieces stack together. He is
being a creative. I learned really early on that being creative houses its own like real strong mental load, and the less
Absolutely.
I have to be in charge of and the less
Mhm.
decisions I really have to make in that regard, the easier it is for me to be creative and
Yeah.
free in that
Yeah.
space.
Mhm.
So as much as she can handle within reason, obviously I'll jump in and help with whatever needs to be done. But if she's got it, I just don't even worry about it.
And I
So
think
what's your role? Like, do you have designated roles in like title terms or?
yeah.
Technically.
So he's considered like the CMO in
Okay.
the facility. I mean, well, we started so small that we did
Yeah.
everything. We wore every hat that existed. As we've grown, we do try to hand off the appropriate hats that need to be handed off. We'll hand off the manufacturing to our head of manufacturing, Max, who's been with us now for
6 years.
It's been a while.
Mhm.
But he now is like in R&D, and he develops our new products and he does all that. But at the time, this guy was the one doing that. So we have done a good job to train up people and empower them to be in the roles that they are. I just want to say this forever. We are not above mistakes. We make mistakes a million times a day, right? Like we are not above it. So as we grow, we recognize that everyone in that building they're not gonna be immune to it either. And we have to be prepared that we're all going to make mistakes together. And that's okay. But we do try to make sure that we are giving the team the proper support that they need. So at this point in time, our focus can be on continuing to grow and scale the business. And as you mentioned, he's extraordinarily creative. He loves to, this is basically like he had a love of video games. And I would say like this is now his biggest video game because he gets to play and do the things he enjoys while continuing to tell this story. And it's very, very important to him on that role. He does not love the business side of things. In fact, that would feel like a job for him personally. And that's just kind of where I thrive because I do think that business is somewhat a formulation where you can kind of just rinse and repeat, and it applies pretty much across the board. Obviously a lot of hard work, a lot of different measurements that go into play, but once you learn it, it can really apply to anything.
Yeah. Oh, I love that you celebrate each other's uniqueness and that you have your strengths and you recognize them in each other and you celebrate them in each other.
We do. And
I'll get an email and be like, hey, somebody needs a balance sheet. You're going to handle it.
Yeah,
Right.
he will.
There are a lot of much.
And like I said, we sit like a foot apart from each other.
Yeah.
So we are together quite
that.
literally like all the time. We bicker with back and forth
100 million times a day.
Yeah, we'll try to be like, this is right. No, this is right. And he does normally decide that I am right at the end of it.
Eventually.
But I also it's not immune to having disagreements, and you're not going to be. So I think anyone who's on a venture to work together, like you just have to also expect that it's okay.
Yeah, I think for us, we grew into understanding each other, both in business and in marriage, that our disagreements aren't because we don't necessarily like each other or each other's ideas. It's just that we're both equally passionate in very different directions within the business.
Yeah. And I think that, we are not duplicate personalities. We are polar opposites. And if it weren't for that distinguishing differences, we would not be where we are. So we have to have the balance of his skills are not my skills. And that's wonderful, because if he was just like me, we would be getting nowhere. We would make a really great plan and there wouldn't be the action taker behind it to say, okay, I'm going to go start this marketing effort, or I'm going to lock in and create this new website or whatever.
Yeah, for me, it planning hurts.
It hurts his heart. It does. Yeah. And even it's funny because even our schedule throughout the week, if I'm like, okay, on Tuesday, we're going to go do this, and Thursday, this is it. He's like, don't tell me. I will tell him 5 minutes before we have to go. Okay, we have to leave the house in 5 minutes. He's like, okay. It does not matter what he's doing. He's fine with stopping and going at that point in time. But if you prepared his brain, he would be like, absolutely not. That wouldn't work for him. So
I love this so much. I relate in different ways as I'm listening to you chat because in my marriage, I'm married to a CPA who runs a law firm, and I am
Okay.
a creative. I've run a website and podcast and just done different creative things
Yeah.
through, the last while. There was a time where my website was doing so well that we considered my husband coming into the show with me, so to speak, into the show. I wasn't
Right.
doing this podcast, but there was a time that he's like, I feel like I'm working for you and this just doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's okay. In our relationship, he needed to have his own things and I needed to have my own. And that
Yeah.
doesn't mean that he wasn't supportive. And he runs all my accounting. And if there's a time that I'm like, hey, there's a spreadsheet and I just hand it over. And it's
Yeah.
so wonderful because it allows me to be in my creative and he
Yeah.
can still be in his business, like send me the spreadsheet zone. And
Yeah.
so I love listening to you two talk because it really is like celebrating the differences that you have and supporting each other and knowing that it's ebbs and flows. And
Yeah.
you're right on the verge of teenage parenting together. And I would just say to you with love, one thing my husband and I say to each other all the time is we're on the same team
Yeah.
because your kids, when they're teenagers, it just gets a little trickier.
Yeah.
Um, and we say that to each other where we remind each other we're on the same team. Like, let's come together on this and then we'll talk to
Yeah.
the kids. So sounds like you
Totally.
guys have got that figured out, but it's really cool that you guys are able to navigate that and support each other in that way.
Yeah, no. And it's been, truly it's been a blessing because I think about all the moments that we've been able to share, like with our children and within the business. And, there's not a day that goes by that we have to sacrifice having children to do what we do.
Hmm.
And I think that is, for me, it's such a blessing. He's more available for his kids than a lot of dads get to be. And I think that
Yeah,
that's just extraordinary also.
very special.
Um, yeah, but yes, we don't take lightly that we work together. A lot of people can't do it. And like you said, that's great. That's
We
okay.
also
Yeah.
do a really good job, though, of balancing our own time schedules. I am very much not a night owl. She is. So she'll
Mm.
spend a lot of times in the evening, hanging out with the kids and doing that sort of thing. I go to bed early, but then I'm up at like 5 in the morning every day. And I'll have, 2, 3 hours of silence when the whole house is asleep, too, launch new ad creative,
Yeah.
to check numbers that are maybe more intensively heavy for I can't do when the dogs are barking and the kids are running around.
Right. Okay, so I have a question for you. As a creative, I feel like Facebook ads are very much, I mean, there's a creative side of it to make it
Mhm.
engaging and people want to follow in the story part, but there's a big business side to that. How did you make it something that you're like, okay, this is fun? Did you think of it as like a video game or like, how did you make it so that
I
it
looked at
tapped
it.
into both?
Yeah, I looked at it early on as more of a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
I guess when your own business is connected to ads in a way, it makes it more exciting when things are going really well.
Yeah.
So for me, telling the story, responding to all the comments, watching the reactions of people, depending on what type of ad you're gonna, that stuff makes it a lot of fun. Um, uh, but I also, again, I'm not doing this by myself. I have her on the other side to
Yeah.
say, hey, I'll get really excited. I'll be like, I think this is going to do great. We should do this. We should do that. She's like, no, it's a bad idea. I'm like, shh. All right.
Yeah.
You
Well,
kind of bring them
okay.
back down to earth, like
Yeah.
Yeah,
maybe.
yeah. And
Okay.
the more years go on, the less that affects me, and the more I just recognize, like,
Mm.
okay, like, let's just go her direction and find how I can fit myself and creativity into that. And I think it just gets better all the time in that regard. But
Yeah. And it's just, again, the thing that nothing stays the same
No,
100%, right? So like
no.
what worked 5 years ago, it's not going to work tomorrow. It's not working
Yeah.
today. And so you constantly have to be ready to iterate and
Pivoting.
learn
Yep.
something
But I
new.
think because I thrive in that action role of just always wanting to constantly move and do something different, the
Mm.
fact that ads and everything changes all the time doesn't bother me.
No, I will
Okay.
tell you, we have learned so much about our different personalities that now going back and thinking about past experiences together makes so much sense. But I always say, like I am a planner, and I have learned that if I speak something too soon, he will immediately take action on it. And so until I am ready, I keep my big mouth shut. And
funny.
so, I mean, there have been times one day when we lived in Virginia, we had this little tiny back porch, and I said, I think I really kind of want to make that bigger. And I went and took a nap. And when I woke up from my nap, he ripped the porch off. It was gone. And he was just going to build another one. And did he know how to build a porch? No, absolutely not. But he just figured out some math. And
I was like, I can YouTube this. It'll be all right.
During
you
COVID,
are the princess. He's like, your wish is my command. If you say it, I'm going to make this happen.
Yeah, during COVID, I was like, oh, I wonder if we should get an air fryer. And it was on Amazon's like 5 to 10 p.m. delivery order. Like he ordered it in 2 minutes after that, and it came to the door. So now I typically wait to approach him until after I know 100% that like this is what we need to do.
The direction you want.
But I'm telling you, there's nobody who's faster, who's going to get to it. He will move quickly in that capacity.
Wow,
so
that's a
I am not like that.
You're a blessed woman, because I can think of a lot of women who would say, hey, could you fix this? And it might take a lot longer.
Well, and I do say this. He also, and this is the caveat I will get, I'll give him his compliment, but I will say, unless he wants to do it, he will never do something he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
So I can say a lot of
It's a good thing I ended up liking her.
Yeah, he does.
I would say,
does.
okay, can I just say, I'm like, oh, how I love that you are like business, like, oh, get it done. And you're like creative and maybe a bit nerdy. And like, how did you meet? Like, this is just, you're so cute together. Where did you come together?
I think one of our benefits too is, we got together very young.
Yeah.
We've been married, 16, 15 years?
I was just shy of 20 when we got married, and we went to Vegas.
So you grew up together, really?
Yeah.
I relate. I was 20 when I got married to my husband,
which I think is great. I know that's not typically as common any longer. I know it's common to get married a lot younger or older, but for us, it worked out really well because I do feel like we're able to mold. But basically, what happened is I had a friend and a mutual friend, and I went to a house that he was living at. We met. And he just basically decided shortly after that he just was like, oh, I'm going to date that girl, and found an end through a mutual friend. Continued.
Well, she was very strong at that time, and still is, but she was very early on, very strong in her faith, very rooted in what she wanted to do with her life and direction. And for lack of a better term, not wanting to be with any losers type of mentality.
Yeah, girl.
And I was very much free flowing, not growing up in a world of where anybody even really knew what they're doing. Nobody cared like about their lives or like what they were doing, college, any of that. And when she came along, I was like, you know what? That seems really stable. And I was like, I think this will just be my life now. So I was like, all right.
And it was like an anchor to your wind.
Pretty much.
Like,
I'm just very forthcoming with who I was. And again, it's no judgment for anyone who's not in that same, lane as me, but I just wanted to be very honest with who I was. And he was just like, great, sounds perfect. And so we just kind of we're just kind of friends. And it just, from there, he basically was just like, I'll do whatever we want to do. Is like a great adventure for him. And he needs zero time to think about things. So he was just like, I'm all in. And this
I'll grow that beard, girl.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So from there we were married. We went to Vegas to get married. It was just him and I and the dog. And we actually had to pay for a witness for our wedding.
Wow.
And so we got married, and I was obviously not 21, so I couldn't drink or really gamble, but I did find $1 and I did throw it in the slot machine, and then we walked away. But and then because at the time I lived in California at that time, but we moved, we went to Vegas and got married, and then just came home, and it's like business as usual. So
wow. And switching back to the business, you mentioned, Megan, before that you are in a male dominant business, and that oftentimes people will go to him to ask questions about the business, or they'll defer to him simply because he's the man.
Yeah.
How do you handle that? And what are some skills that you've built? I mean, you are very purely, and you're a very direct, like straight headed person. Like, it's very obvious that you have it all together. Is that frustrating for you? Like, how do you handle it in those moments?
Honestly, for me, I think it's kind of a superpower to be underestimated. If people aren't paying attention to you, if they are not, if all eyes are not on you, you can go silently. And the art of war, right? You don't want to let people know you're coming. So if they think that I am the one who's not decision maker, if they think, a lot of times it's an advantage that I have.
Oh, I
And
like
so
that.
I never view it as a negative. I always kind of view it as a positive.
Mhm.
It is interesting to me though, is that I think, you have to prepare your mind that everything is hard. Life is never going to be easy. It does not matter what you're doing. You're not going to have, no one was promised an easy life. We are promised the ability to be able to pursue what we want, but expect hard things to happen. Be prepared for that to happen. And I think also celebrate those things, because that means that you're doing something. And
Mm.
so when you find challenges and you find things like that, you really want to like hone in and be like, okay, how can I make this better? So a lot of times, just let him take the lead, and he will often either defer back to me.
Or we'll get off a call and be like, we're not working with that guy.
Yeah, or give warning flags to be like, okay, well, maybe that's not the right team member for us. There's a lot of areas of that are, I think, work out really well. And the one thing I do, I take a lot of, I look to men very, I aspire to be a lot like men in certain aspects that they have. And
we are really full of ourselves.
Yeah. And as a whole, and I'm not going to ball every single man into this, but there are outliers, but men do a much better job of being confident and assertive than women typically do. We're typically more accommodating, or more nurturing, and just as a whole. And so you have to look at the way that they interact, because they do. It's about, they feel very empowered a lot of times in what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And so you kind of have to be the same way, but also
Yeah.
not take, don't have the ego side where you take offense to it when people don't showcase you or think you're, you don't need to. It doesn't make you any more money or make you, pursue anything more in your life if people recognize you in the same capacity. And so for me, like I said, I just view it as a competitive advantage.
Yeah. It is interesting. I mean, I've interviewed women now for 6 years, and women unfortunately wait for permission, or
Mhm.
don't even
All the
assume that
time.
they
Yeah.
deserve the same kind of accolade or
Yeah.
recognition, or the title of CEO. That's actually why
Mhm.
I named my podcast Call Me CEO, because so often women have a hard time even saying I'm the
Yeah.
CEO, and it's shocking to me. I want to
Yeah.
change that. That's why we're here.
Yeah. Well, and they have to, and this I've noticed too, because I was a homeschooled person growing up. So
Okay.
I actually never went to public school. I went to
Mhm.
and did my college. I even did it online.
Wow.
And so I've never really been in like traditional learning environments. But with that, I feel like I have just a different perspective on the world. And
the princess has a very, very firm grounding and not caring what other people think about her.
Dang.
That's,
Teach us all. That's
it works out to her advantage a lot.
I think you just have
That's a gift.
to, yeah, I think you just have to recognize, like, well, number one, what are people's intentions? And when a lot of times when you get feedback from people, it's typically not for the betterment of your life. They're
Or
typically not.
it's usually in fear of their own judgment
Yeah.
or
Yes.
self-worth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think you just also have to view it with like, okay, what is your master goal? And while we have things we want to achieve while we're here on earth during our time, what's going to matter? And I know what matters in the long run. I know my family matters. I know my children matter. I know my relationship with them and the time I spend with them. I know that ultimately, when I look back, those are the things I'm going to care about.
Mhm.
And so if someone's disrupting my peace in that way, if someone's trying to take time away from the things that matter, it's not important to me. And so I really have to focus on the why behind what we're doing, and know that everything else is noise. You just have to ignore the noise. And so it's going to happen. And quite again, when we get mean comments on the internet, we're like, heck yeah, that's a compliment.
And even more so, as we scale, as we become, more reach, more relevance, more public eye, as everything goes along, we actually look at that as a signal of growth.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, if people are talking negatively about us, about the business or things in that way, it just means that we're relevant enough for them to care.
Yeah. Yeah. And so we often
good way
just
to look
like
at it.
yeah, we do. We celebrate those wins. But for me, I do have the innate ability to, like, because I wasn't in that, probably in a public school environment, maybe I didn't have that level of peer pressure. So I always say I'm like the least peer pressure affected person ever, because if I know what we're working towards, no one's influence is going to affect that. Unless it's like case. But outside of that, we typically, and even then,
And really, I only care about what she
yeah,
thinks.
so
So,
it's like, it works out well. But we do. And so for that, I'm able to kind of, I'm a huge goal setter. So I think even for the company's sake, I can look at it and I can say, what are we working toward? And I can say on the back end, like, okay, I need to evaluate, how do we make this happen? And for anyone who is listening, we always like to say everything's possible unless, physically it's against like the laws of physics, or probably like it's illegal. Anything is possible, but you just have to figure out how to make it work. And then once you figure out how to make it work, you have to decide, okay, does that make sense for me to do? So whatever it is achievable, but it may not be something you really want. So a lot of times I'll look at it and I'll say, what does it take to do this? And then I'll say, let's think of a big pop star singer, a pop star singer. They have to travel everywhere all the time. And so if I wanted to go be a pop star, I would have to say, do I really want to live on a bus? Do I want to go do these things? And
yeah, we've had to have conversations as business grows and where we want to go. And, everybody envisions multi-million-dollar sales and success and all of those sorts of things in that sort of a scale. But that comes along with a lot of different challenges. And especially when you start hiring on other people, we have 20 plus employees now. We are worried about them every time we have to make payroll. It is not any longer about us.
yeah.
And you have to ask yourself, like, in a lot of respects, you can make a very good living with a sub-$1 million business with far less employees and far less worry in that regard. For us, it just kind of spiraled into something we didn't really want to slow down. We had to learn to grow into that, but you have to be prepared that if this is what you want, you have to be willing to deal with some of the crap.
Yeah. And so I think a lot of people evaluating what that really looks like, are you up for this challenge? And the answer could be absolutely no problem. And it could be, that really that doesn't align with the family life I want, or, I don't really, I wish I really want to buy a home and that doesn't align with that. Or maybe it's opposite. Maybe you're like, I have dreamed my whole life to travel the world, and this is the opportunity that it's taken to get there. And so I think understanding what something looks like and being able to see the big picture and say, okay, does that look like what I want my life to look like? And if the answer is yes, go for it. And if the answer is no, it's okay to rethink.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. You both have given such great advice in terms of rewinding the tape a little bit, and what you've been able to build that first year at 7,000 and then to where you are now, Inc. 5,000, selling tons of product. Would you say, I think storytelling is a big part, a big piece of that. The marketing, is Facebook your number one sales place even still? Are you doing TikTok? Like what did that trail look like, and how did
Yeah.
you get to
So
those numbers?
Facebook was the start of, even before we started paying for ads, Facebook was the start. We used to work in groups and we would introduce the brand inside of like bearded men groups and do a
Oh,
much
smart.
free.
Okay.
We've been on.
We lived in a very small town. We couldn't knock on a lot of doors.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just not done that way anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we, both of us recorded and put videos on the internet. He's always loved creating content. He did it for fun. Like nobody's ever really like watched his content.
Yeah, I ran a powerlifting channel for like 3.5 years and had like less than 1,000 subscribers, but I was still 1,400 videos in. It's just something I liked to do at the time.
I am the opposite, actually. I very much don't love creating. I love if someone's like, hey, go do this, do exactly this. I am a great content creator, but when it comes to actually being like, I have this great idea, I want to do it, I'm typically not as inclined to spark that level of creativity. But obviously, as time went on, we both recorded videos. I used to do YouTube when YouTube was like the cool thing. And so we've done it for a little while as well. And so natural to Meta, when we started running paid search ads, there's also Google. We are kind of everywhere at this moment in time, but
I think Facebook still takes the largest chunk of
they have been they were definitely the propeller to kind of get things going. Excuse me, we have since like we are in the TikTok shop. We recently launched the beard side on Amazon, which was huge for us because we did it kind of backwards. We did direct to consumer website. We didn't do Amazon, which a lot of people, the natural instinct is to focus on Amazon first, and we did not do that. And so from there, it was just, we kind of introduced the brand to multiple areas and things.
With storytelling being a big part of your brand, and that is such a strong marketing skill that I think a lot of people lack or feel uncomfortable with, what advice would you give them about creating more story around your product?
So for us, we knew, especially in the male dominated, the male cosmetic space, there is very little fun, right? And so we want you to view these products as a natural extension of your grooming care, but we also want you to view them as a hobby, a way to kind of wake up and be like, who do I want to be today? Do I want to be the wizard? Do I want to be the hero? How do I feel? What's my mood? We want you to be able to collect them, share them with our community. We have like a Facebook group, like 20,000 people that will share photos of what they wore that day. And
I love that.
dress up like the characters. We have costume contests in October for who can dress up like the best character. And then we like give people giveaways for doing so. Those are all ways you can celebrate these products in addition to using them every single day in your grooming routine. And that goes for both the female and male side. But I think in the male industry, there's just not a lot of variety.
Well, and when it comes to growing a business and storytelling and just being passionate about what you're doing, you really have to not be afraid what other people are going to say or think about what your passion is.
Yeah.
If you love peanut butter, tell everybody how much you love peanut butter, right? Like if that's what you want to be a founder of, if you want to be the next person to create the next GIF, then go for it. And you got to realize that, well, when we first started, the algorithms and the world of social media didn't really follow it as much as it does now. But now it's so hyper targeted to people's individual interests. You will find 100,000 people that also love peanut butter as much as you do eventually if you just keep posting.
But really, that's probably what you're likely going to find is a group of people that hate peanut butter, and you're going to go in and be like,
they'll
let
drive
me tell
up
you all the
engagement.
reasons. Let me tell you all the reasons why you're wrong.
Why you're wrong.
But that's really like, it is a place where and it's continuing to get more and more integrated with your life. So what we used to know as, I've always kind of grew up with social media from a young age, but so it's kind of been just a normal part of my life. But even our children, like, when they play Roblox, it's social media. Like a lot of parents don't think of it as that. It's a gaming platform, but essentially it's how we share information with each other now, and it's not going to slow down. So be prepared to continue to learn the new ones, right? Be prepared to go on Snapchat.
Yeah, I couldn't even imagine saying that. But if you're afraid to go on social media and press record, you're going to be in a world of trouble here very quickly if you not already are facing those.
Yeah, don't be afraid. You gotta be good at it. And that's okay. That's all right. Nobody's good at it. We just all pretend.
Nobody knows what they're doing ever.
Yeah, we all just fake it till we make it.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you're tapping into like the Comic-Con like groups of people. MagicCon?
A little bit. We actually
if you're not,
you should do a lot of events until we started doing events like about a year ago.
Okay.
But we
don't need
we talked about sending our team members to go to some of those events. If they weren't super local, we toting children with us was always like a big, difficult, especially.
And then we are so connected. Like we neither one of us really like doing anything without the other. So like if it's like, hey, like we're gonna go to this show, it's like, well, like she's not gonna do that, so I'm not gonna go.
Well, and now we have a 12-year-old who can help with the 3-year-old, but as time went up, before when they were like really little, it was difficult.
You're having babies and
so,
that's a good point. Yeah,
it does need to be 10 out of 10 recommend having an older child to take care of your younger children. I know you got to start from none, but it's much nicer. Even now, I'm like, can you go put the 3-year-old to bed? And he will. So
yes, or driving. That's actually been a huge, once you get a driver to help out.
Yeah, it's
awesome
a lot better.
And on the business front for me, and this is something that we have, I guess, disagreements or different viewpoints on. For me, it's always been like we started from nothing with just the two of us and then grew it online through direct to consumer. So when people often say, either whether it's farmers markets or events or things like that. I'm like, yeah, that's really cool, but like we could just do an ad set, or we could
Yeah,
just
it's not
like send out an
necessary.
email.
Yeah.
And like, so in a way, we built the business almost backwards from a lot of ways that people do. So for us now, it's just like, do we have the employees to go do it? How are we going to get them there? Like, we're not going to go travel to work the event, you know,
a lot of
same way.
logistics
Yeah.
that go into play with
Yeah.
that. But like you said, if you looked at it on paper and you said, are these people going to actually build anything? The answer would have probably been like no times a million. Because we didn't come into it with this very thoughtful, calculated model. We came into it with like, we're just gonna wing it. And every day when people are like, oh, are you gonna do this? And they're like, well, you don't want to probably like be too risky. And we're like, hey, we're just gonna like risk it for the biscuit.
And for us now, it gets exciting because now that we're at this stage in business, we just we'll come up with this idea, and we're like, man, I don't think our competition is going to see us coming when we get to
X. We bet it all on black right now, and
No
we
kidding.
do
Oh
all
my
the
gosh.
time, on a daily basis. And so I think, like he said, we came at it from a place of we kind of almost did the harder part first, and
Yeah.
so a lot of this is kind of like almost going backwards with it. But we're super excited about that. So
That's really cool. I mean, you really built it a family first approach where you're
yeah.
at a home base, you want to be together, you want to be with your kids. Are you homeschooling your kids? How do you navigate parenting, business? What does that side look like?
Yeah, no, we are not. I would have loved
She would
to.
love to. I wouldn't survive.
I will say I
It's a
look
lot.
back and I am very grateful for my mother being patient with me because um I was a pretty easy kid, and I'm like, dang, I don't know how she really like taught me anything. Because I was still stubborn enough to not want to do schoolwork.
Yeah.
But I have recognized that my kids need a little bit more support in that capacity than I could give them while running the business and doing both at the same time. And so I think that's kind of extraordinary. We have been very, very intentional about where we choose to live and what schools they would be in, because I think that is huge. It's not really about what they're learning, quite honestly. It's more about the community behind them and the type of individuals that they're surrounded by. That for me is far more important than
and
what their grades are.
For
Yeah.
both of us, being in industries and also not really in family structure that really prepared us for anything we're doing. Like we taught everything running this whole entire organization like on our own. It was all self-taught. It was all skills we didn't have before. If I needed to learn how to code a website before, even with ad creative and things like that, like we started the business before AI even existed.
Yeah.
So like even creating, like I had to teach myself how to edit. We had to do all of these things. And so in that we recognize with our children, like we want them to get a good education. We want to do all that. But at the end of the day, we're just like, we just got to make sure that they meet the right people, that they're okay, that they're safe, like they're going to figure out life.
Yeah. Yeah. And then just like get to spend time with them. I think that's the most valuable thing that you could ever do, whether that's them hanging out and sitting by you while you're working, or we include our kids in business decisions all the time, as far as like, even if it's just asking them like, what would you do? I love playing the hypothetical game of like, okay, if you needed $1,000 by tomorrow, how would you do it? And then sometimes they'll get some wild idea and you're like, probably wouldn't work, but I just love giving them the concept of like, just what would they do?
We probably have one of the very few 8-year-olds who understands what CAC and LTV is.
Yeah. If you ask them like what ROAS is, they'll be able to tell you the answer. And so we pride ourselves on including them enough to, for them, they take a lot of pride in it being like a family business too. So
Yeah, that's
makes it
awesome.
more fun.
Is there any hard, fast rules that you have in regard to protecting the marriage, your children, hard stops of when you discuss things, if it's business or personal? Is that something I've talked with couples who have rules like that, rules of engagement, if you will. Is there anything like that you guys have?
I think at the end of the day, I don't know if it's just because of my willingness to like legitimately, like I'm just going to follow her and do whatever she wants to in life. She gives me a lot of freedom that this is what we're doing now. But we don't really ever reach a point where a situation is reoccurring enough that it's like, oh, we need to take a minute to like figure this out. We kind of just do it.
Well, and I will say we never turn Fable off. It's a 24-hour in our world. But we don't view it as, oh, we're working, and we view it more as like it's an extension of our family. And so for us, it doesn't feel,
and putting ourselves into the brand, the wizard, the princess, like it does feel like, she, on the other hand, she's like, eventually selling exit. And I'm like, legacy, that's what, no, we're going to build theme parks.
This is forever.
Yeah, it's forever.
But so, yeah, and like I said, I think because our kids are included, like it's not like he'll come to me, and I'll have to leave and take time away from the family to discuss something. We typically just bring them into the conversation. And if it's hard, if it's like, hey, we got to go run payroll, you want to come help me? It's more of just like kind of including them enough to where they have a general understanding of what you're doing. And then also just like letting them have the freedom to be children. And quite literally, they're so accustomed to it, they don't even think anything different. We'll be like on a meeting and they'll just be running around in here, doing whatever, playing tag, playing chase. We'll be like, okay, we're just, we're deciding whether we want to do this big thing or not. And then they'll just pop in and like probably have no pants on or something. And we have to like quickly be like, hold on, just give me a second. But it's not abnormal for us to do that. So
yeah. And I feel like what a wonderful time to build a business. The structure that used to have to be in place in terms of like being outside the home or not having access to online ads or having, a lot more restriction in terms of growth, they have been removed. And so it's a wonderful time to build a business. And you two have done such a good job of taking your own talents and putting them into something and infusing that and making this incredible business. Like it's really has been so much fun to interview with the two of you.
Well, thank you. It's been super fun to be here and excited to get you some products and also share some stuff with everyone else. So
yeah. And on that, so for everyone listening, we're actually going to offer a discount code with the word Camille, my name spelled Camille. You can find the link below in the description. We are also going to have a giveaway. So if you want to try it for yourself, we will have the details and information for the giveaway below. And it will probably be something like follow us on social media and comment or something. We'll figure it out. It'll be in the description below. But one of the things, but as we end, before we finish here, one of the things that you all have done with your business is create incredible loyalty and a fan base, a customer fan base that just loves you, loves your product. What would you say the number one contributor is to that for people who are trying to build that kind of following?
Yeah, well, I think for us, it's very much authenticity. I will tell you this, you couldn't convince him to be anything than what he is if you tried, right? Like we are very much who we are. This came from a place of loving men's care, loving beards, loving storytelling. And so I think for us, we were never trying to build that, right? We wanted to grow a company. We wanted to replace his income at the time. We wanted to be able to have a little bit more freedom there, but that just kind of came as a natural extension of just being who we are. And we hope to always continue that. We know that there's going to be people that will love us and then hate us and people who,
oh, I like it when they hate us.
Yeah, people who will never know who we are. But I think at the end of the day, knowing our intentions and the fact that we want to grow this community and have fun with people and give them a little bit of time and escape from the hard of the world and be able to share with others, like that's our heart and that's what we want. And so for us, I think that just naturally was seen, and we were kind of able to create something from that.
And from the very beginning, I was always big on documenting the entire journey. Like it wasn't ever like, nothing was ever really like kept a secret if people wanted to know information. Like building the community itself was actually just being a part of it. I think a lot of the times founders are afraid to share when things are hard or something that's risky because they're afraid of what people might think or whatever along the process. For us, we have created tens of thousands of pieces of content around very different stages of the business and growth. And we'll probably continue to always do that, whether that's me wearing a bird mask and going on TikTok live for 3 hours and, just hanging out with the community, or it's, us just riding around on the golf cart talking about what struggles might have happened, that day in the business. I think you've got to be willing to share what you're doing. And if not, if people can't build it with you, like, is it even really, worth it?
Yeah. I think that's good advice. If there's anything I've noticed in terms of social media and the way it's changed, people really do want to see the good, the bad, the ugly. They want to feel like they're watching a reality TV show with you
Yeah.
as the host, truly.
I think
I
it's
mean,
a realness that you can't,
yeah.
you can't put a price on that because everything is so fake that I think.
And as we are able to grow and fake more things within life with the way
Yes.
technology is
Yeah.
going, AI is a fabulous tool. We could talk for hours on very many different ways that it can help elevate your business. But what it can't do is it's not going to replace creativity.
Yeah.
It's not going to replace who you are. And it'll definitely help you do things that you can't do on your own, but it can't be you.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's really good advice. This has been so wonderful. Thank you both for joining me today. It kind of went from we'll have you together for a minute and then we'll finish.
Yeah.
But this has been so much fun. And I
Yes.
really love your journey, your wisdom, your authenticity. Like it's been really a pleasure. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much for having us.
Thanks.
Yeah. Yeah. And for everyone that's listening, remember that business growth doesn't have to come at the expense of your family, that you can work together, create your why and your reason for showing up and create a boundary and a process that works for you and whatever that looks like. And thank you everyone for listening today. Now, I know we're going to have some people listening who will want to follow and perhaps even dig into your archives of what building this business has looked like and what it looks like now. Where can they find you and follow you online to try out your products and to get to know you better?
Yeah, so we have FableBeardCo.com, and then we have FableBeauty.com. We also have all relevant socials, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, related about both brands. You can also follow the Wizard FBC or the Princess FBC and the Wizard and the Princess on socials as well. And we document a little bit different business stuff around that. But a lot of brand stories, a lot of fun, creative things regarding characters and storytelling and cosplay. We post, about 4 times a day, at least, to both brands. So
Wow.
it's there's a lot of stuff.
Between all
goes on
that
there.
different
Yeah,
socials, so.
yeah.
Okay, that's amazing. And you have team members that are helping with that, I would imagine.
Oh,
at
yeah,
this point.
yeah. And they're all very involved too. It's very much a whole employee-based thing. So you may see our employees doing skits together and having fun, or Max might be putting on lip gloss for, testing out products, You never know what's going to find.
It really is. It's a wild west there. So.
Oh, I love that. How fun. All right. Well, that sounds like a good time. Everyone, make sure to tune in. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, comment, and share this with a friend. Anytime you share, it helps to inspire other women to chase after those dreams and build families that they love. So thank you for tuning in, and we will see you next time. Hey, CEOs, thank you so much for spending your time with me. If you found this episode inspiring or helpful, please let me know in a comment and a 5-star review. You could have the chance of being a featured review on an upcoming episode. Continue the conversation on Instagram at Call Me CEO Podcast. And remember, you are the boss.